There's definitely been some surprising decisions in college basketball today, but none bigger than Marcus Bagley deciding to not only return back to college for another season, but return back to Arizona State for another season. While it makes sense on the surface that Bagley is back at Arizona State just because of all the ties he grew up in the Phoenix area before moving to California for high school, and his grandfather is one of the best players in program history, Joe Caldwell, who spent a long time in the NBA. So he has a lot of family ties to the program, and last season his grandfather wasn't really able to be at the games because of the COVID issues around the country that prevented people from being in the stands. That looks like it'll likely be less of an issue next season as most stadiums across the country are at full capacity. I would imagine that's going to be the same in November. But when looking at Arizona State next season, obviously they missed the NCAA tournament last year. But this year, I think they'll be improved. Despite losing 10 players, including Remy Martin, Alonzo Verge, and Josh Christopher, they are very talented and are going to play the way Bobby Hurley wants them to play. They have a lot of shooting, which was something they struggled at last season. They could not find consistency shooting from outside. Remy Martin was up and down. Alonzo Verge was up and down from three. Josh Christopher just wasn't much of a three-point shooter. Holland Woods couldn't hit many threes, and he played the most games out of all Arizona State players. Next season, they have Jay Heath coming in from Boston College, who was Boston College's leading scorer. He shot 35% from deep, which isn't great, but I think he'll be closer to 40 on a better team. DJ Horn shot 41% in the Missouri Valley for Illinois State. He's going to be the best shooter for the Sun Devils again next season. He is a really gifted scorer that will be probably the future of the program. Marion Jackson coming in from Toledo, one of the best free throw shooters in the country, but he also shot 36% from deep for Toledo. Again, I think on a more gifted team with more shooters, Toledo struggled a little bit at times shooting the ball. I think on a more well-rounded shooting team, Marion Jackson's going to be a bit better than 36%. You have Luther Muhammad, who sat last season. He transferred in from Ohio State, one of the best defenders in the Big Ten during his time in Columbus. Shot 37% from deep as a freshman from deep, and then 34% as a sophomore. So he's a pretty solid shooter also. And of course, the guy the video's about, Marcus Bagley, was a solid shooter but didn't play a ton of games last season because of injury. But his biggest, attribute is definitely shooting. Only played 12 games and shot 35% from deep. He's going to be a guy that's close to 40% from deep this season also. The real question about this team is in the front court. You add Enoch Bochi, who is a 5-star recruit, a top 30 player in the class of 2021, originally committed to Michigan State, decommitted, and now he finds himself at Arizona State. You had Alonzo Gaffney, who is a junior college player from Northwest Florida, but you probably know his name because he's a top 50 recruit in the class of 2019 committed to Ohio State. He's a real X factor for this team. If Alonzo Gaffney can live up to that hype that he had coming into Ohio State, he's the kind of guy that could put this team on another level. But then you have Jalen Graham returning for his junior season, 2 years in Bobby Hurley's system. He's got to learn a lot there from Romello White, who's now off to the pros, spent a year at Ole Miss after spending 3 at Arizona State. Graham's a really good shot blocker, and he was good last year, but dealt with some injuries, and he missed 3 games with mono. So he was out of the lineup for some time here and there. I mean, even at points in the season, Arizona State was playing walk-on big men because they didn't have any depth in the front court. And a guy who really blossomed last year is a former top 100 recruit who was a senior last year, Kamani Lawrence. Was a senior last year, but he's using the free year of eligibility. He had a 20-point, 20-rebound game in a win against Washington, given Washington was a very bad team last season. But Kamani Lawrence really stepped up to the task when most of the team was injured. He was a very solid player last year. I'd expect the same this year. Could be one of the more steady pieces in the front court for the Sun Devils. But when you're looking at expectations, I see this as a tournament-level team. They're going to be able to shoot the ball, and while they don't have the stars, the well-known brands like Remy Martin on the team, they don't have a Josh Christopher, they have a lot of guys who play exactly how Bobby Hurley wants to play. I mean, you look at the team from a few years back. where they made the NCAA tournament and lost in the first four to Syracuse. Trey Holder was really good before, but he was never on a winning team and wasn't really seen as a bona fide star in the Pac-12, I feel like. Then you had Shannon Evans and Cody Justice and Romello White as a freshman. So a lot of guys who really emerged that season, and they weren't a bunch of stars. They weren't a bunch of guys with big names like Remy Martin, like Joshua Christopher, who were great players in their own rights without a doubt. Christopher could be a first round pick, but I feel like the Arizona State team is more well rounded this season. And last year, with all the injuries and COVID issues around the program, it was hard to ever find consistency. It was just a tough year. And when you have three guys that want to have the ball in their hands all the time, that could create some issues. And it just didn't work out last season. I think this is a better team overall. I think chemistry wise, this team is going to be much better, and I think the Sun Devils will be back in the NCAA tournament next season. I have them probably fifth or sixth in the Pac-12 at the moment, but I see a solid amount of teams in the Conference of Champions going dancing. I have Oregon, UCLA, Arizona, all ahead of Arizona State comfortably. Those are potential top 5 seeds in the NCAA tournament. And then you have USC, who, there's going to be a video coming out on Isaiah Mobley and his decision. I see them kind of right in the same mix as Arizona State. Then I have Washington State also making the NCAA tournament next season. Stanford, Utah, and Colorado kind of on the outside looking in, but they could make the NCAA tournament. Arizona State should be back in the NCAA tournament next season. Marcus Bagley could be an all-conference guy next season. He was a former top 30 recruit, former 5-star recruit. He's a gifted athlete, versatile, and can really shoot the ball from outside. A healthy Marcus Bagley will be able to guide Arizona State to the NCAA tournament next season. Thanks for checking out the video. Like and subscribe. And until next time, have a good one.